Hello everyone, it's another Saturday and it's another parkrun, this time a brand new one for the channel, Gunnersbury Parkrun. As a Spurs fan, it does feel ever so slightly disgusting saying Gunnersbury, but it's a lovely park and I'm looking forward to getting out there. Some of my regular viewers will know that I've just changed my training philosophy to do my interval sessions or my threshold sessions a lot slower than I used to. This should hopefully allow me to up the mileage considerably, and you can see here that this was coming at the end of a 60k week where I was hoping to do a 15k work the next day to make it an 80k week in what should be my biggest week for 3 months since I was training for the Brighton Marathon. And here are the two sessions of the week. You can see that threshold work, 4 flat per kilometre rather than 345, 350 I was doing before, and then a track session, trying not to go too quick, doing 3k-ish speed work, so about 320 per kilometre for me. I'd also been to the gym. I know, the world really is a shocking place. I'd done my first ever full body workout, so getting the excuses in early, I was feeling a little bit sore, but I had done some good strides before, woken the legs up, and it was totally worth it because now I look like this. Oh, a right old specimen. But jokes aside, what are we aiming for today? I'm looking for a solid effort in the 18s that doesn't feel like I'm going to die. The elevation profile's heavily downhill in the first kilometre, so I was looking to get out hard, and as you can see here, it's very wide at the start, but the tarmac path is very narrow, and with over 600 runners, I wanted to get out there and make sure I wasn't going to trip over anything, because there was quite a few potholes out there, so I wanted to just get out hard, and then see where I went from there.
1, go!
Up and away we are, and I'm seeking out that juicy tarmac on the right, and to get there, I'm in the lead. Oh, sore leg. Who fancies a little bit of 2 minutes 40 something per kilometre at the start? I absolutely do, apparently. And at 100 metres, victory is in our sights. The strides before, to be honest, made that feel super easy, so now I could just ease that pace back. But as it was downhill for this first kilometre, it just felt so lovely. I could do this pace all day, lads, and my 160 metres of being in P1 are over as this gentleman comes through and another couple. And this lady comes through as well into the lead. She's looking very strong. And it's now just about mentally going at the effort that you know you can go at this point. Losing a few positions and just not trying to stay with them, because I'm not aiming for a PB today. And I certainly wouldn't be aiming for a PB anytime soon, going at 320 per kilometre. As I said before, that's about my tapered 3k pace, so we're not there yet. We're moving back into 7th or 8th position, still going along at a good rate of knots because we are going downhill, and this, when we turn left here, it is quite heavily downhill at that point. I'm using the Nike Alphafly 3s today, and they feel really, really good. I took them out for an easy run with some strides, and they actually felt really good at easy pace. And then the general turnover felt absolutely amazing once I got going. You may be questioning, as my brother was, why I was using my very expensive Alphafly 3s on an easy run. It's because if I don't use a shoe that often, I tend to get aches on the bottom of my feet when I run in them for the first few kilometres, and I didn't want to have that today. Oh, just checking the cameras on. Good evening, everyone. Approaching 600 metres, and that's possibly the last I'm going to see of most of this lead pack. Although, still going along at 320 downhill, it's going to be a pretty rapid opening kilometre. Probably the quickest I've ever managed in a parkrun, I would say. I did feel very in control at this point, though. You can see my heart rate only 160 at the moment, so we're still 10 to 12 away from getting towards my threshold when it would start to hurt. So I'm just enjoying letting my body fall down the hill. As we now enter the woods where things will start to get a little bit tougher, some undulation, expecting an uphill fairly soon, and things get a little bit more twisted and turny. And there is the 1 kilometre mark, a 3 minutes 24. It's a very naughty one there from J Mills. It was downhill, and now it's all about finding that nice, comfortably hard pace. That would need to be done mostly on feel, as in the trees here, the GPS wasn't working very well, saying I was going at like 4 minutes 10 per kilometre when I was definitely going a little bit quicker than that. But what a beautiful park. I've lived fairly nearby for 3 years now, and I always thought it was a bit of a trek to get here, but it wasn't too bad at all. It was a 1 mile walk from Ealing Broadway as someone else comes through past me now. I think I'm down in 10th or 11th place, as I say thank you to the marshal. I think we're just enjoying a slightly downhill section here as well. I think we're about to go up about a 10 or 15 metre hill very shortly. And here you find me at 1.7 kilometres, slowly trudging up the hill. And I was quite content at this point that I looked like I'd found some people going around my pace. The lead female had dropped back towards me, and the chap that overtook me just after a kilometre looks like he's around my effort, so I'm going to try and stay with them up here. We were sort of doing 3 minutes 50 to 55, I think, for the most part going up this hill. And it was definitely here where it started to hurt a little bit. You can see heart rate now, 170 to 172, around my threshold. To be expected that it starts to feel uncomfortable at this point, but I knew I just needed to get to about 2.2 or 2.3, and we'd come down again. So we'll see how I felt at that point. Emerging into the sunlight now, and it looks like the guy is eyeing a move up on the first female, but thinks better of it for now. I will not be making any moves until we stop going uphill, as I'm trying the best I can to make sure I'm not overdoing this effort. I know the final kilometre is like 15 to 20 metres uphill, as I went down that bit at the start, and it felt so good, and I'm sure at the end it will feel oh so bad. And the second kilometre has slowed drastically as expected, but a 3 minutes 45 mostly uphill, I'm pretty happy with that, as I was thinking maybe 340s was around the pace I was going to be able to do. I wasn't sure high or low, but we will shortly see how I feel coming back down the other side, as I've done plenty of races where I'm waiting for that downhill and I still feel bloody awful. Vegas half marathon comes to mind, where at 4 or 5 kilometres it started going downhill. I was ready for the good times, and it was all bad from there. I got slower and slower and slower, even though it was just continually downhill for the next 10 kilometres. So hopefully we can get our breath back now. Levels off here, I believe, and then we start going downhill for the next kilometre. It levels off, I believe, from about 3.2 to 4, and then it's that quite steep 15 metres or so climb at the end. And luckily it didn't feel like Vegas as I was coming down the hill. Heart rate at 174 hasn't come too high up, and I'm plopping along in the 340s, and we're in that nice comfortably half zone where I feel like I could go on for quite a while. Certainly without an uphill at the end, so I've got one eye on that, making sure I stay a little bit within myself, as we do not want a blow up on this day. Naughty, naughty. This was the most downhill section, and the tarmac was just beautifully flat here, and I was taking advantage of it, getting into the 330s once more. But look, the heart rate had actually come down slightly. We're in a pretty good position just after halfway, as I only briefly creeped above my threshold, and we're sort of teetering around it now, pushing fairly hard down this hill. Still expecting the final kilometre to be a shit show though. Third kilometre complete now, a 3 minutes 43. We've only increased the speed slightly overall compared to the uphill second kilometre, but I was pretty happy with myself, pretty good controlled aggression, knowing that my body wasn't in optimal condition for a really quick 5k, and that the final k was uphill, but I still wanted to get myself a pretty good time without introducing any ridiculous fatigue into my body. Halfway through the fourth kilometre now, and as it's mostly levelled off, heart rate beginning to climb now to do the same speed that I was doing before down the hill, but luckily only a kilometre and a half to go now. Can we manage to catch up to anyone by the end, as we're in a little bit of no man's land here, although I could just about see 2 runners just ahead. Approaching the end of the fourth kilometre, and I am slowly catching that guy just ahead, and you can bet, yeah, that I was aiming to try and get him by the end. He was definitely my motivation at this point, but I knew the Hill of Doom was not far away. End of the fourth kilometre, we're continuing to catch at 3 minutes 42, which is the quickest since the first kilometre, and it was mostly flat there, so I've been pushing to try and catch this guy ahead, and you can tell by my breathing and my heart rate's now in the 180s, 900 metres to go. Have we saved enough as we're about to emerge out of the forest? And we are there with 700 metres to go. We're hot on his heels, but look at that heart rate, almost 190. As I expected, this is not feeling very good right now, but there's not long to go. But we are starting to introduce a few D Mills death calls. We are so close. It wasn't feeling good at this point, but there is someone else struggling more than us on the left there. That would have been me if I gave it a full send today, I reckon. This was the steepest bit, and I was quite happy to just sit right behind this guy, and then when it levels off ever so slightly around the corner, see if I had a kick in me. And here we are rounding that final right. We'd slowed into the fours there, bit windy as well, but we're just over 400 meters to go. I can see the finish line ahead. What have we got left in us? And this is where I was mentally assessing whether I had a decent kick or I was going to need to wind it up, and I decided probably a wind up was needed. And there I go. I decide to make my move decisively just before 200 meters to go. And luckily there was a little bit left. Do I have anything more than that to try and catch the guy just ahead? It's a long way to him with less than 200 meters to go, but we're going to push and give it everything. We're into the 3 minute 20s per kilometers. I'm making some lovely noises. 100 meters to go. We're catching, but I'm not sure we're catching him quite enough. And then I think you see him just go for his finishing kick stride as well, which means that the pace slows ever so slightly. I'm not sure what those noises are. Husha, husha. As we come across the line, 18:26 P9. And I'm very content with that time. At the end of a pretty heavy week for me compared to recently, I've still managed to put up a low 18, sort of 50 seconds off my PB. Thank you for watching, everyone, and tune in next time for D Mills in the Hastings 5 mile race. Everyone's favourite is going to send a man to the moon himself for the first time since 1972. You don't want to miss it.